listening. Right now, we're about to talk with Dorrian Porter of Vestaboard. Vestaboard is a new company for home technology. So, we sat with Dorrian for a little bit and asked him a little bit about the product. He told us, and it was pretty interesting. Hope you guys enjoy, and let us know if you have any questions. Cheers. Dorrian, thank you very much for joining. We're going to be talking about Vestaboard, where it has been, where it's at currently, and where it is going. So it's very exciting to see what you and your team have been doing by bridging art and technology together. So Dorrian, first off, you founded a couple different software companies, and how has that experience helped Vestaboard grow?
Well, I've done 3 companies total, including Vestaboard, over 21 years. So I think experience counts for something. So it definitely has helped kind of shape how I go about building the business, and mostly things to avoid based on past failures. So for me, the last 2 companies were software only. This was a big leap to go and try and build a hardware product, but software is a core component of the company and the product. And so obviously the software background helps enormously now that we're shipping the product, to start focusing and building on all the software features that we can support around Vestaboard.
So you mentioned that you started working on a frame, I think, in the 90s, and was that around the time that you traveled to Paris and you saw a split flap? How did that impact the development of Vestaboard, and was that the impetus?
Make it sound like the 60s, but no, I did come down as a lawyer in 1999 to Palo Alto, but I started 2 software companies, and it wasn't until 2012 when I was finishing up the second company that I was in Paris and saw the split flap. And that second, so in Gare du Nord, in the train station in Paris called Gare du Nord, there is a very large split flap display that's made by a company called Solari. Solari had been making those displays since the 50s or 60s. They were quite popular in the 60s or 70s, and now only a handful of airports and train stations have them around the world. So when I saw it, I was captivated by it. I was still working on the other business, so it was kind of in the back of the mind. The previous business was a lot of mobile to screen software. So if you walked into a Live Nation venue and saw a Taylor Swift show, chances were pretty high that my company was powering software that let people send messages to the screen and return home and maybe pick up a goodie. And we worked with a bunch of different companies like Live Nation and Coca-Cola and Red Bull and whatnot. And so this idea of using your phone to communicate with the screen was probably on the mind as well. And so I used to imagine what it would be like to kind of send inspiring quotes to my kids. And so when I saw the split flap display, it was always I was always wondering if it would be appropriate to build a split flap for the home. And as I investigated that down the road a few years later in 2015, I decided it would both be really expensive to build as a one-off project, and potentially an interesting company to start that provided a display like Vestaboard to home and office. So not only for the use case at home, inspiring kids or inspiring family members, or using the Vestaboard for a calendar for the family to keep everyone in sync, but I also suspected there was a significant business market for the product in offices or in hospitality settings like restaurants and hotels and event centers. And then now we're seeing not only those use cases come to life, the home use case come to life, but also seeing them in doctors' offices and at university dorms. And so we see a big opportunity for this type of display that's very different from a digital screen to grow into lots of different directions.
That's great. And so that's pretty much the story on how it started. Or is there any more else to that?
I think that was the story. It was about trying to maybe build this product on my own, just for my own use, and then realizing that that would be very difficult, probably not as difficult as starting a whole company, but also that there was an opportunity for the product as I envisioned it at the time. And then I recruited a very good product designer named Faiza Hassan, who really oversaw all of the product detail and engineering behind the product. I recruited an individual named Ian Geyer, who did a lot of the sourcing of the materials and the prototyping that we had to go through. We worked with a great set of engineers to do that. And we also hired a design team named Bold Design, run by Fred Bold, and with his partner Anson Chung. They really designed the industrial design, the actual look and feel of the product. And so in 2015 and 16 and 17, we made slow but steady progress on research and development. And by 2018, we had brought the concept public and really hadn't figured out the design for manufacturing, because when you're building a hardware product, it's one thing to say, oh, this is how it's going to look and feel. It's another thing to figure out how you can kind of get it to work through prototyping. And then it's a whole different thing to be able to take that look and feel and take the prototyping you've done and then really design it for manufacturing and make sure you can make it in the way you want to make it. You can make it efficiently, cost efficiently. You can make it efficiently with the materials you need. You can make it with the materials you want to use. That whole process ended up taking another 2 years really to get to a point where we could manufacture the product to the specifications that would excite us, what we thought would excite our customers. So it was quite a long journey from idea back in 2012 to investigating the concept in 2015, and then taking 4 years to really get to a point where we were ready to even ship a product.
Wow. So that definitely sounds like a collaborative effort. How do you help the team improve the product on a daily basis?
Well, now, I mean, we're fairly settled on the design of the hardware product. So we're going to hopefully keep shipping the product pretty much as is on a hardware level, for the foreseeable future, for next few years for sure. And we think there's lots of opportunity for the product as it relates to hardware. It really is going to come down to innovating around software. So we launched, a set of mobile features that you can use to control the Vestaboard. Those base level features are enough to probably keep our customers excited for a period of time, but all of them are very excited about what we could do to automate the Vestaboard. So these are things like real-time sports scores or real-time news, real-time updates about information that people care about, allowing our community to create automated messages that other community members could subscribe to. And this is what we're all working on now and working to launch in the fourth quarter for our customers as a robust set of content and integrations that they can use for their Vestaboard. So in terms of the team, I personally don't do much right now to help them improve, because everyone knows what the mission is, which is to try to build as many of those in as high quality a format as we can to launch them. And that's really the next phase of the company, is to not only have shipped Vestaboard, have provided a base level of features to use Vestaboard, and now we really want to enhance both the automations for Vestaboard and the community features that people can take advantage of for their Vestaboard.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Next, I'd like to ask you, how has Steve Zadesky's role in contributing to Vestaboard and that background with Apple help also improve the product?
Steve's an advisor to the company. He's been an advisor for 3 to 4 years. He's just a very, very experienced hardware engineer and leader. So he ran significant teams at Apple around significant products over the last 20 years. He provided, a ton of advice to me and the team in terms of how to think about building this product, and also is a great resource for any kind of troubleshooting or issues that we might run into, whether it's supply chain related or design related. Faiza Hassan, in her own right, is a seasoned hardware engineer, our product leader. She was one of the original group members who launched the original Echo with Amazon, and then she spent 10 years at Dell building laptop computers. So Steve's been invaluable. We've also made sure we've hired experienced people. There's zero question that hardware is hard, and you've got to spend a lot of time trying to get things right, and there's just no way we could do it without having the benefit of the experience of these people.
Then that also brings me to my next question. You mentioned Faiza. So what do you think about product design with Faiza? Is it Faiza Moore, or is it Faiza Hassan?
It's Faiza Moore. It may be Faiza Hassan in some places, but she goes by Faiza Moore now.
Okay. So
I probably said Hassan, so I'm glad you've corrected me.
Oh yeah, no problem. What do you think about product design with Faiza Moore and electrical engineering with Scott Brenneman? And how does that, how is it to have different talented disciplines? And how do you manage that team cohesion?
Well, I'm pretty fortunate. I mean, we've hired, some solid professionals who know how to collaborate and cooperate and get things done. And so I don't think they would let me say that I've never been involved, but when it comes to actual, the bolts of it, getting it working, my job is really to make sure that they have the resources they need to be successful, to set some goals and to set the timetable, and then work with them to make sure that I'm not being too annoying in those goals and timetables. But in terms of their experience level, their ability to work across discipline, for QA, for supply chain sourcing, for prototyping, for all of the rigorous testing we did, all the possible designs that could be involved. Not only Scott played an important role, still does. We have Adam Reed Erickson from Langskip Design, still a part of the team, was instrumental to the launch of the Vestaboard product. We worked with other firms and people along the way. And for me, especially as a startup, it's less about, your traditional corporate kind of progression when you're developing people. You do, obviously, everyone wants to participate in something where they learn and develop. But when you're in a startup, it really is about execution and making sure that people, you have the right people working on the right things, that you find resources that they need when they need them, that you find additional expertise when it's needed, that you recognize when that expertise is needed, and that you are working towards, a very clear purpose and mission, so that everyone clearly understands what's important. And, I think if anything, having the team, come up with recommendations and then being able to make clear decisions as a team when you're trying to prototype and get to a final design was a really important part of our process. And the role I would play sometimes would be to make some final decisions so that we could move forward.
All right. Next, what other Vestaboard products or variants might be developed soon?
Yeah, we won't release what we're going to do next, but we do have some plans for future products. It's highly likely that we will release some kind of product in the next 12 months that is similar to the flagship product. But that has not been finalized or announced or even scheduled for launch at this point. And then we have other ideas for displays that may be more affordable for others to use for messaging. So unfortunately, Vestaboard comes with a high price tag. And I say unfortunately because we do get a lot of people who would love to own it and just express to us that the price is too high. I wish I could convey to them what goes into that price in enough detail so that they believe me, but each Vestaboard has over 14,000 parts, 8,448 spinning flaps, 132 motors, over 2,000 distinct electronic components. We think we have one of the largest PCBs in the consumer electronics industry. It's all wrapped in very beautiful aluminum encasement. So the product is expensive for many people, and too expensive and out of reach for so many people, which is unfortunate. But our goal will be to try to launch equally delightful messaging displays that hopefully can expand the use cases that we're seeing from our customers into other people's homes and offices in a way that's maybe a little more achievable for some people, and hopefully creates the same level of engagement and delight that we're seeing from our customers with Vestaboard.
All right. And then also, who helps inspire you? Do you have anyone who helps inspire you? Is there an individual perhaps in or outside of technology or the tech industry that kind of inspires you?
That's a good question. I've always run with my brother, my best friend's father, who passed away in 1990. And I do remember him dearly as someone who inspired me just by his demeanor and his humility. And someone that I do think about from time to time. I lost my own father last year, so I'm going to give a nod to my father's own inspiration behind what I do. And then in terms of specific people, I think, I think there's just so much innovation and creativity to draw on, and why I came to the Silicon Valley in the first place. I mean, there's some obvious, amazing product people that have been here and are still here. And I don't necessarily think of any one of them as being more important, but it doesn't take much but a throwing of a rock to find people who are doing creative and interesting things where you can take inspiration from them. And that could be in a totally different sector than hardware, could be in anything that's happening online or on mobile, where it's exciting. I think mostly I'm inspired by people who think long-term, who build for the long term, who maybe understand that business, yes, is about returning money to shareholders and generating wealth, but it's also about making sure that you're creating jobs and good jobs for people where they can develop themselves and grow themselves. And you're also taking care of your customers in a way that, generates all that success that people want to see. And so, anyone who's putting products into the market that they're proud of, that they stand behind, those tend to be the entrepreneurs that I look to as most inspiring.
Well, my condolences to you and your family during this time. And it's been a challenging time, definitely. But however, you guys continue to persist and make a great product. So thank you very much, Dorrian. Thank you.
Thank you.
And looking forward to the future, where do you see Vestaboard in the next 5 years as it continues to grow?
Well, I hope we can continue to grow the scale of customers for the flagship product that we have today. We do see very good indication that there's a lot of opportunity for us out there. So our vision would be to scale the Vestaboard into as many homes and offices and locations, whether it be retail or hospitality or schools or healthcare. And then, as we mentioned, we working on the software to automate the Vestaboard. So we want to continue to grow in how that software relates to the Vestaboard and helps our customers use Vestaboard. And then finally, we do plan to launch additional devices. So imagining Vestaboard 5 years from now, I see a company that is substantially bigger, has substantially more customers, has a couple of different product lines at least, and has a software platform that's supporting it all that people really enjoy using and value. The smart display market is a very big opportunity. You see companies like Apple and Amazon and Google and Sony and Samsung all look at smart displays and displays that are on walls and what it can do for the consumer. And a lot of those companies, are giving them away because they want the data and the engagement so that they can monetize in a bigger way. I think there's room for a brand like Vestaboard that wants to focus on products that help our customers inspire others, that focus on features like privacy, and has a brand that's committed to inspiration and lifestyle in a way that's different than some of the largest tech companies that are out there. So that's what we'll continue to focus on the next 5 years.
That's great. And what's something that you've learned from Vestaboard or from your customers or from your team that continues to resonate with you? And it could be a lot of different things. But what's one that comes to mind?
Well, I think it's important to be optimistic as an entrepreneur. It's very easy to overpromise and underdeliver sometimes. And when it comes to hardware, software, logistics, e-commerce, I think most of our customers would look back and say, didn't you sell me this in 2018? And why did it take all the way to 2020 to get it? And what date did you tell me we would get it the first time you told me you were selling it? So I've got a few people on the team who are very good at making sure that now that I understand that we want to give accurate and reliable information so that we can always over deliver on customer expectations. And that always resonates with me. It sounds, in my opinion, easier than it is. I think, but I always learned it as a McKinsey saying. McKinsey Consulting would say over promise or under promise and over deliver. I don't necessarily always buy into it because I think people need to set big, aggressive goals. You know, I know someone in my past whose father used to say, you know, reach for the lamppost, reach halfway up the lamppost, and reach for the moon and overshoot the lamppost. So I do believe in big aggressive goals and really hard charging towards getting to them. But I think trying to balance those things is a really important lesson, where you can be both realistic about what is achievable and yet still very optimistic and ambitious in what you want to achieve. And I think some of the biggest lessons I've had as an entrepreneur is really trying to marry those two, so that they can translate into a company that can execute well, that can satisfy customers, can delight customers. And so I've never minded lessons that say, is that maybe too ambitious? Should we make sure that we actually can deliver the fundamentals first? Those are some of the things that I try to keep in mind as a business leader.
Absolutely. And do you have any advice for future entrepreneurs or anyone watching this video, either in business or in day-to-day activities or life?
My go-to would probably be to go read The Never-Ending Story, which is a book about a child in Germany, I think, who gets chased by bullies and then ends up in a schoolhouse reading a book, and then realizes that they're the main character of the book that they're reading. And so my main advice is to, regardless of any fear that you have, is to realize that you are probably the main character of the book you are reading, and that your goal is to pursue those passions and interests that excite you, and to do them honestly and with integrity, and spread the word that every person is probably the star character in their own book. And if you can spread that word and more people can do what they want to do and do it with passion and integrity, that I think a lot of the world's woes would start to solve themselves.
Definitely, definitely. Well, Dorrian, thank you so much for coming on today. This was a fantastic interview to have the opportunity to discuss with you some of the great things that Vestaboard has done, is doing, and will continue to do. So thank you so much, Dorrian. It's a pleasure to have spoken with you today.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Endo, and for bearing with me to get on the call today, and appreciate what you're doing and spreading the word about entrepreneurship. So congratulations to you with everything you're doing.
Thank you very much, Dorrian. You have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.